I have a confession. I've grown a bit weary of Sunday morning sermons. Hi, I'm Tam, and this is Life as Pulpit, an experiment in finding meaning and message in the mundane, mistakes, mischief, and messiness of life. Today, I just want to tell you about where this idea of life as pulpit came from and why it matters to me and why I think it might matter to you too. You see, like I said, I've grown a bit weary of the Sunday morning sermon. And I'm a little hesitant to say that because perhaps the spiritually elite will come after me or rip my ordination away. It's true, friends. I can marry and bury you. But anyway, I've become a little bit weary of the Sunday morning sermon for myself. You see, I know that I long for something a little more personal as I seek to wrestle with and celebrate the complexity of my humanity. And I'm weary of it for others too. So many who will never enter the doors of a church, but who are longing for connection, who are searching for deeper meaning, who just want to grow, who want to find purpose. And so it's these stirrings that have led me to this idea of life as pulpit. Because I don't just want to have the same conversations. I just don't want to meet the same people. I don't want to get in the same status quo of life, but to experience something different, to take risks, to enter into spaces that I otherwise wouldn't. Life as pulpit. What does that even mean? Well, so what we know is that a pulpit is the podium at the front of a sanctuary, generally in a church, and typically during a service there are songs sung, there are prayers prayed, and then at some point the pastor gets up and delivers a 15 to 60 minute sermon. Usually there's reference to scripture in the Bible, and there's teaching, and there's application to life. Now, as a pastor's kid, I am very familiar with this structure, the pulpit. I listened to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sermons with my dad behind the pulpit. And so I sat with my mom in the front row and my sisters, and although I was expected to pay attention, really the idea was just for me to stay quiet. And so I would do my best to hold myself together, drawing and doodling and trying not to get in trouble, because you see, if I didn't hold myself together, if I caused any kind of disruption, then my mom would yank me down the aisle in front of everyone, drag me outside, find the thinnest switch, the thinnest branch she could off of a tree, and whack me with it. Okay, now before y'all people start freaking out, it was a different time, I probably deserved it, and my mom's a real doll. But anyway, there were other times as I grew older that some of these messages spoken behind the pulpit really inspired me. Sometimes they brought me to tears or challenged me or helped me to really sense that God really sees me and really knows me. And as an adult, I've spent a lot of time behind the pulpit myself. Now, I usually don't have an actual pulpit because I don't use notes when I speak, and I like to walk around and flail my arms all about. But metaphorically speaking, I've spent a lot of time behind the pulpit. Now, you might know that a lot of times the perception of the nature of the pulpit lends itself to power rather than mutuality, authority rather than friendship, guardedness rather than vulnerability, judgment rather than mercy, and lecture rather than conversation. I'm sorry, but who wants any part of all that? Not me. Now, I gotta say that absolutely is not always the case, and yet it is this perception and this experience that so many have had that keeps them away from church. And really, the whole nature of the pulpit sort of inherently communicates that it's the pastor with the direct connection with God and the knowledge, and it's the pastor who bestows encouragement and insight and knowledge and challenge. And yet, as I look back on my life, I recognize that some of the best sermons that were ever preached to me were by a friend or a colleague sitting across the table from me at a coffee shop. Or maybe it's been when I'm walking in the woods and I sense God's presence and God's voice challenging me and leading me and giving direction and guidance. Or I've experienced divine moments with the bartender as we talk about the struggles of life and where we're seeking to find meaning and direction in the midst of that. You see, Here is the real deal. Nobody needs a position or a podium for their life to speak. If we allow it, your life can speak to mine, and my life can speak to yours in profound and beautiful ways. And that's what Life as Pulpit is all about. So I enter into this midlife season of life, which, by the way, I choose to think of my midlife crisis as a midlife awakening, but that's for another day. Oh yeah, midlife awakening as pulpit. Okay, wait for it, it's coming. But anyway, during this particular time of life, I just want to dive in. I don't want the status quo. Do you? I want more. I want to enter into those spaces and those places where I can experience something different and life can truly speak. So just to give a little bit of fair warning, if we're going to be talking about life and how it speaks or whatever, like, we have to be really real and raw and honest. And so just a little bit of a warning, there will be times when the filter will come off. It may become uncomfortable for you. It may become uncomfortable for me, but that's okay. Also, my kids will tell you that I'm a little awkward. I'm okay with it, so I'm just gonna trust that you will be okay with it as well. Well, I would love to hear what ideas you might have of what can be examined and explored in this whole idea of life as pulpit. I've got some things up my sleeve coming, some things that are stirring are quarantine as pulpit, coffee shop as pulpit, sex talks as pulpit, grief as pulpit. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So go down to the comments and let me know what your ideas are. Let me know who you are, subscribe, and also check out my website. I'll see you again soon on Life as Pulpit.